Welcome to the racetrack, where only the most fearless can succeed. In Heat, 1 to 6 players are racing around a chosen track, while shifting gears, managing stress, slipstreaming around opponents, and maintaining their engine's heat limits. The first driver to cross the finish line a given number of times wins the race. Do you have what it takes, or will you be another driver taking a corner too fast and finding out just how dangerous racing can be? Hi, welcome to Father of Games. Today we're taking a look at the 1 to 6 player racing game, Heat, Pedal to the Metal. Now this game comes with 2 rulebooks. This one is recommended to be used first. It covers all the basics and everything you need to get playing the game. And then once you're familiar with the game, the second rulebook can be added in. This adds a bunch of new changes. It adds a Legends mode, Championship mode, road and weather conditions, and a bunch more upgrades. This video is only going to focus on the basics from the first rulebook, everything you need to get started and get playing quickly. And once you're familiar with that, I have another video coming out hopefully soon that I'll link in this video's description, going over all the extras and all the upgrades found in the second rulebook. So with that, let's take a look at how to play just the basic way. First, choose a track. For your first game, the USA track is recommended. Place your chosen track in the middle of the play area. Next, organize the cards by the different types. These upgrade cards can be removed for now. There are 6 identical sets of 15 cards of the 6 player colors. Of those 15 cards, 12 show this symbol representing speed cards, and the other 3 show this symbol representing upgrade cards. Each player chooses a color and grabs their 15 starting cards along with the player mat, race car, and gear pawn of that color. The gear pawn can be placed in first gear. Now the 2 remaining types of cards are stress cards and heat cards. Refer to the amount shown at the top of the game board here, and each player adds the shown number of stress cards to their deck and the shown number of heat cards face up on the board here, which is called the engine. Place any leftover heat cards back in the box and any leftover stress cards beside the board face up. Next, randomly place each player's car on a space on the racetrack to determine player order, and each player shuffles their 18 card deck, drawing 7 cards, and the game can begin with the player currently in first place. In Heat, players are taking turns going through a series of actions, starting with the player currently in the lead, followed by each player in descending order until all players have completed 1 turn. After that, check if a player has crossed the finish line, the indicated number of times on the board. If so, then that player has won. If not, then go through another round again, starting with the player currently in the lead. Before looking at the actions, I want to quickly go over this thick white line. This is called the race line, and it switches sides of the track at various locations. Whenever players are beside each other, the player closer to the race line is considered to be ahead. So in this example, the red car would be considered to be ahead of the blue car because they are beside the race line. Whenever a driver enters an unoccupied space, they are placed on the space closest to the race line. There are 9 potential actions players can take on their turn, and they are all outlined in order on each player's board. Any actions with this symbol are mandatory, and the ones without this symbol are optional. To save time, actions 1 and 2 may be done simultaneously for each player. The first action is to shift gears. To do this, you can either stay in the gear you're currently in, or shift up or down 1 or 2 gears. There's no penalty for only changing 1 gear, but if you choose to shift 2 gears in either direction, then you cause your engine to gain 1 heat. Heat is a constant part of the game. I mean, it's in the title of the game, so that should go without saying. Whenever you gain heat, you simply add a heat card from your engine located on your board here and place it into your discard pile. This will eventually be drawn into your hand, making it weaker. What happens if you need to add heat and there's no more cards to draw? Well, we'll cover that later, but for now just know it's bad. The second mandatory action a player takes on their turn is to play cards. Players must choose a number of cards matching the gear they're currently in. So 2 cards if currently in second gear. The chosen cards are played in front of each player face down. Any variation of speed, upgrade, and stress cards may be chosen to be played, but heat cards may never be played from a player's hand. Moving down the list of actions, the third action is to reveal and move. In which case, you guessed it, you reveal your chosen cards and move up the track. To do this, add all the values of your chosen cards and move up the track the indicated number of spaces. If a stress card was played, flip over the top card from your deck until you reveal a speed card. That card will be the value of the stress card that you played. Do this multiple times if multiple stress cards were played and any unused revealed cards are put in that player's discard pile. Just like in real life, stress represents an unknown outcome, which in this case will be an unknown speed. When moving, other cars don't block movement unless two cars occupy both spaces you end your movement on, in which case you place your car directly behind them. Remember to place your car closest to the race line if available. The fourth action is the first optional action, and it only applies if the player taking the action is the last car to move that round or the last or second last car to move in a 5 or 6 player game. This is the adrenaline action. Adrenaline gives a slight advantage to the players currently falling behind on the track. Adrenaline lets that player move forward one extra space and gain action to one extra cooldown in the cooldown step of their turn. What's cooldown, you ask? Well, we'll cover that in the next action. Just remember that the player in last gets the option to do one additional cooldown in the next action. Moving on to the fifth action, this is the react action. With this action, you may cool down and boost. These actions may be done in any order. The boost action may only be done once, and it's always optional. To boost, pay 1 heat, again taking it from your engine and adding it to your discard, and after that, just like stress cards, draw cards from the top of your deck until they reveal a speed card and move up the track the indicated number of spaces. Boosting is essential to move up the track, but doing it too often is risky because your engine can only handle so much heat. Now that's where the cooldown part of this action comes into play. The current player may perform the cooldown action once if in second gear, 3 times if in first gear, or 0 times if in third or fourth gear. Also remember that if the current player got 1 cooldown from the adrenaline action for being in last place, then it can be added to available number of cooldowns at this time as well. Each cooldown allows that player to place 1 heat card from their hand back into their engine, and this is the only way heat is ever removed. So once your engine's heat starts getting out of control, downshifting to be able to cool down your engine is very, very important. Alright, now moving on, the next action is slipstreaming. This is another optional action and can be chosen only if you end your movement directly behind or beside another car, in which case you move your car forward 2 spaces. Slipstreaming can only ever be done once. It doesn't happen again and again if you end your movement behind another car. After slipstreaming, we come to arguably the most stressful action in the game. Well, apart from playing stress cards, I suppose, the next action is the check corner action. If your car crossed any corner, as shown by this thick white line, then check the speed value shown on that corner and compare it to your total speed. If your current speed is greater than the value shown in that corner, then for each number greater than that corner, 1 heat must be paid. So in this example, the corner speed is 3. If my current speed added up to 5, then I would pay 2 heat from my engine into my discard because my speed is 2 higher than the value of the corner. So what counts towards your speed when performing a corner check? Well, any cards played in front of you, as well as any extra movement from the optional adrenaline action from being in last place. So in other words, everything except for slipstreaming is added up when performing a corner check. If you ever need to pay more heat than your engine currently has available, well then, you're in trouble. If and when that happens, pay all heat that you can and your car proceeds to spin off the track. When you spin out, place your car to the closest space before the corner that caused you to spin out. Add 1 stress card to your hand if you are currently in first or second gear, or 2 stress cards to your hand if you are in third or fourth gear. And finally, move your shifter back to first gear. Maybe that will cause you to go a little slower around the corner next time. After checking the corner, we come to the discard step, in which case the current player can discard any number of cards from their hand. The only rule with this is stress and heat cards can never be discarded. And the final action is to draw back up to 7 cards, and if there's no cards left, shuffle your discard pile to form a new draw pile and continue drawing cards. After that, the next player completes their remaining actions. If ever you have so many heat cards in your hand that you can't play enough cards to match your speed, then follow the rules on the last page of the rulebook here. I'm not going to go over that. You got yourself into that mess, it's up to you to get yourself out. It is rare though, and I personally never seen that happen. Once one player crosses the finish line the indicated number of times on the board, then the remaining players complete their turns. Slipstreaming and corner checks are ignored when crossing the finish line for the last time, and once all players have finished their turns, whoever is farthest across the finish line is the winner. It's recommended that players who haven't crossed the finish line continue to take turns as normal until they do, to know what order everyone finishes the game in. But I tend to agree with Ricky Bobby and personally stop the game once one player has won. And that's how you play Heat. As always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave me a comment down below. But other than that, thanks for watching and stay tuned for more videos.